It's a very good morning to the Gelding as we return to Caulfield, your home track, Gelding. 10 race card, first at 12:10 p.m, the last at 5:25. Very wet conditions. What are your thoughts on how the track will play out this morning?
Good morning, Professor. Good morning, listeners. As you know, Caulfield track, always a bit worried about a Professor. Has been known over the years to have bias. So, again, our normal warning, watch the first couple of races just to see how the track's playing. Rail out 6 metres from a previous true position Professor. Look, I was surprised this morning when I looked up the TAB website and the track showed a good 4. The rain we got here last night, Professor, let me tell you, the track got a good watering. So I'm very, very surprised the reading's a good 4. My tips were done a bit on, thinking it was going to be a slow track. So both my tips have form on wet tracks, Professor, but also form on good tracks as well. So hopefully we can get through today. I must say it's a bit overcast here at the moment, so I think we might get a few showers today, Professor, which we know can change the track during the day when they're running on a train with rain, and it does open it up and cut it up a fair bit. So with a little bit of trepidation looking at today's form.
Yeah, I agree, Gelding. I was surprised when the track was rated a good 4 when I got up this morning. We had plenty of rain here overnight as well, Gelding, and I would expect rain during the day. It's certainly forecast, so I would imagine that once the horses start running on that track, it won't take long for that rating to be downgraded, maybe to a slow 5 or 6.
I'm with you, Professor. I think I was doing the form for a soft 6, so I wouldn't be surprised after the first couple of races. It may even be downgraded to a slow 5, so even without rain. But let's leave it to the stewards. They're the ones in control, Professor.
Yes, they are, Gelding. The feature race, the Group 1 Underwood Stakes, a 3-year-old plus race over 1,800 metres. Another Group 1 race only worth 750,000. Gelding, time for your soapbox, I think.
Yep.
Surely the Underwood should have $1 million prize.
Yep, I'm on the soapbox. All I can say is repeat what I said 2 weeks ago for the show. Melbourne Racing Club should step up. They've got a good field. I'm staying away from it, Professor, but it's got a good field, but not a great field for a Group 1. This is one of these. Pericles is a very good horse. We're back. Munamek's a good horse. You'd love to own all these horses. Very interested in Faulkner Park, as I said to you off air, Professor, the Caulfield Cup favourite. Interesting to see how it's come back. And then there is the Freemans have another nice European horse in place, the Carousel. I'm interested to see. And let's have a look at it, Professor. And also race 8, number 13, Coco's Son, Professor, did very well over in Adelaide in the longer staying races there. So interesting to see how it goes.
Yes, Gelding. We'll see how it goes. Now, before I ask you for your tips, Gelding, and here comes a question without notes. Did you get the email from the chairman of the MRC yesterday morning?
Yes. Oh, Professor. Look, can I say in your other profession, Professor, have you been called up to advise? Have you been called up to advise them?
No, I haven't, Gelding. I haven't.
Well, they should place the phone call because the amount of money that the Melbourne Racing Club is spending on lawyers and spin doctors to support their case against this yeah, there's this John Kanga wants to spill the board to bring things in logical where you put the parade ring in front of the grandstand so people can see it. You develop Sandown in what should be every Wednesday racing should be at Sandown, and just common sense things, Professor. No, but they'll spend heaps of money on lawyers and spin doctors. I'm sure their lawyers' fees are over $250,000, which would make the Underwood $1 million race, Professor. And what's their business? What's their business?
Racing, Gelding, racing.
Racing. But all they're interested seems to be the revenue from the pokies, isn't it?
The two things that interested me, Gelding, one, net debt has risen to $154 million.
Yep.
Like, why would you be carrying $154 million worth of debt?
Yeah, because they did.
Yeah, I know. You're speechless, Gelding.
It's a Melbourne Racing Club. These guys basically want to spend other people's money, a bit like the Labor Party, tax them and spend their money. But they also want to build a $200 million grandstand, Professor.
Yeah.
But you're 184 in debt. You spend $64 million moving a mounting yard. You already had the stalls for the horses and walking around areas. Sure, develop them, not just knock down a building and put a mounting yard at the side of a grandstand so all the attendees can't see the horses. Then build an inner track. How many races have been on that inner track, Professor?
Oh, it's a good inner track, though, Gelding. A very good inner track.
Three meetings.
Yeah, I don't know, Gelding.
Right. Take away the training. It used to be a training facilities, a history of the area. There's been training at Caulfield for hundreds of years. And now we've got empty barns sitting there, along Boron and Canbrook Road, Professor.
Gelding, waiting for the Melbourne Football Club to move in.
Well, you know what? That is about, I will say, they should encourage that to the hill because that is a very, very smart move and something that they should have been calling on. Some development in the middle of the track, as we know, is fairly barren land, Professor. And, apart from a market around the lake and where you used to go yamming with your grandmother, I believe, it's just underdeveloped land. So I think that's a fantastic idea. I don't know about you.
We can tick one up anyway.
That is about the only thing that I would agree with that they've actually done, but I don't know.
All right, Gelding. Well,
Melbourne Racing Club.
Better put the soapbox away for the time being because the punters will be getting a bit irritated with us carrying on here. They want to know what our tips are, Gelding.
Can I ask you one question, Professor, without
Yes, go right ahead, Gelding.
What's wrong with us that we keep on giving this race club money to become members?
Gelding, did you see they've only got 14,000 members? That was in the email.
Yeah.
That's not a very big membership.
No, and they like spending it. And anyway.
All right. What are
your two soapbox, Professor?
Yeah, let's get off the soap. What's your two best bets for Caulfield this afternoon, Gelding?
Professor, the first tip, race 5, number 3, Another Will. Kieran Maher, Jamie Carr. Look, it's $1.80. You might get $2 for it. I reckon it's a great way to start off a parlay bet, Professor. As I said 2 weeks ago when it won 9 starts, now 6 wins, was favourite for the Group 1 Doncaster handicap where it ran 7th. One of its failures. It's in a listed race over 1,400 today. Second up, just a nice little sweet spot for it. Second up, Professor, if I quickly have a look, 2 starts for 2 wins. That'll do me to get us away, Professor. So race 5, number 3, Another Will. Then, Professor, going to the race 9, the Caulfield Guineas Prelude. An interesting lot of 3-year-olds, all aimed for the, $3 million Caulfield Guineas. This race is a Group 3 worth 300 over 1,400, Professor. Look, sticking with the Gay Waterhouse, Adrian Botthorse, being brought down from Sydney, Professor. Blake Shins hopped on board. Race 9, number 5, Wanta Rua. What I can say about this horse, Professor, is that it's had 3 starts for 2 wins and a second, Professor. The second was to a horse, Autumn Glow, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, Professor. It's won on a slow 7. It's also won on a good 4. One at Canterbury, one at Randwick. Last start second in a Group 3, 1,300, to Autumn Glow, but beat horses such as Snack Bar and Iron Hawk, who I think are very, very good 3-year-olds, Professor. Gay's brought this horse down for the Caulfield Guineas. Can get round about the $4, Professor, so I like it. Blake Shin, as I said, just one of the informed jockeys at the moment, Professor, just riding really, really well. So my 2 are race 5, number 3, Another Will, into race 9, and number 5, Wanarua. And I will say, Professor, let's stick to Jamie Carr before she starts what I think is a quite ridiculous suspension. But talk later on that too. And your tips?
Going to get the soapbox out again, Gelding?
Well, I think so, Professor.
All right. Well, I'll give my tips.
Do you want to discuss it or not?
Well, yes, we can get the soapbox out. I'll give my tips first, right?
Yes.
Then we'll discuss it before we finish. All right, my 2 for today, Gelding. Race 3, the Classic Hits Handicap, a 4-year-old plus mares race over benchmark 84, over 1,400 metres. I like in this one, Gelding, and you and I might have a difference of opinion here. Number 1, Sassy Boom, coming out of barrier 5. It's had 12 starts for 3 wins and 2 placings, so a 25% win rate, 42% place rate. Second start, this preparation on the back of a 5th at Caulfield. Last start, Gelding, led into the wind and weakened, but fitter now. So it's had 2 good jump outs and has good second up form. And I was going for a little bit of value for punters. $5 and $2.50 you can get at the moment. So that's great each way odds. Blake Shin's in the saddle, Gelding, and he's in very good form at the moment. And Danny O'Brien's in career form as a trainer, 14% over his career, but over the last 50, 16%, Gelding. So I think Sassy Boom might be hard to go past, but you had an alternate one for the punters?
Oh, no, Professor. I certainly like your tips. Look, I also like number 2, Lover Zoo, which is Danny O'Brien trained. But I'll be keeping a little eye, Professor, on number 6, Quick Start, trained by your trainer, Peter Moody, and
trained by a local trainer, Gelding.
Yes, and Catherine Coleman. It's a 4-year-old Seamus Award mare, Professor.
Okay.
Having 8 starts for 2 wins and 3 seconds. Had a bit of form in the autumn over the Morfordville Carnival. So I'm just wondering whether Peter Moody might have a similar plan for an upcoming Seamus Award, Professor.
Well, we can keep our fingers crossed, can't we?
Yeah, whether he keeps to the same pattern, Professor.
All right. My second selection today, Gelding, is in race 4, the Jim Maloney Stakes. It's a 3-year-old fillies race. It's a listed race over 1,400 metres. In this one, I like horse number 1, Gelding, Silmarillion, coming out of barrier 1. It's had 6 starts for only 1 win and 4 placings, so 17% win rate. Got to improve on that, 83% place rate. It's in a similar class to its last start, Gelding. It had a win at Moonee Valley 2 weeks ago. Before that, it was second in the Group 2 Silver Shadow Stakes at Randwick in August. It's a Blue Army selection, Gelding, and we've talked, how many times have we talked about on this program how the Blue Army James Cummings select races where they give their horse the best chance of a win?
Professor, I like it. It was one I also had a look at, but and I'll probably be getting some of mine during the day. But as we said before, the Blue Army, they just put their horses in the right type of race to give them the chance, and they don't overstretch, I suppose, because they've got so many horses, Professor. But to me, it's just good planning, isn't it? It's a listed race. This horse has been building up for it. Some nice horses in the race, but I like it. Blake Shin, Blue Army, right race, right horse, good pick.
All right, currently showing $3.30 and $1.50, so some great value there for punters, Gelding. Two that I couldn't fit in my selections that I, like you, had a bit of a look at. Race 1, horse 15, Flamin' Romans. A little bit of odds there for the punters. Look, yes. It's got a good each way odds, and it's a good each way bet. I'm not saying load up for the win, but currently showing $6.50 and $2.30, Gelding. If you can get that, I'd get on that. And one that we spoke about off air, Gelding, race 2, horse 11, Federer, has done nothing wrong.
No.
$1.50 and $1.08, a bit short, but I think that one's almost a certainty to get across the line first, Gelding.
Professor, the only reason I left it alone and didn't do it was the fact that it's had 2 starts. It won at Sandown by about 5 lengths. It's bred by Dundee, an AJC winner out of Jamaica, which is a Caulfield Cup winner. It's just showing very good form. Over a mile, should run it easy. However, the forms have been on good tracks, Professor. Jamaica handled the wet, but without knowing what the track's going to do, let's sit and watch. But look, if for the listeners, certainly wouldn't be worried about including that in a parlay of some form.
Yes, Gelding. Somebody asked me about it yesterday, and I said, look at those odds. I think I'll just look on today.
Yeah, but Professor, this is a horse going places.
Yes.
You know, just in a benchmark 78, Professor, worth 80,000.
Yeah, no, certainly you're right, Gelding. I've black booked it, Gelding. It's going to certainly go places. So my 2 today, Gelding, race 3, horse 1, Sassy Boom. Race 4, horse 1, Silmarillion. Now, we turn to the Professor's parlay.
Yes. Sorry, Professor, for last week.
Well, I should also be apologising to you, Gelding. The Premier League let us down. Hey, here's a question, Gelding. Let's not worry about Via Sistina, all right? Because things always happen. Like, as we say, that's racing. But
yep.
Liverpool being beaten 1-0 by Notts Forest at home is not soccer.
Professor, all I could say, probably helping your eyes and ears from me not texting you so much, was we were lucky Via Sistina was very disappointing yesterday because, Premier League soccer, All right. It throws an odd result occasionally, Professor.
Yeah. Well, look, I would have been disappointed.
Unbeatable or beatable.
Well, yeah, I know, Gelding, but look, if it had been 1-1, I would have been disappointed. But, okay. But to be beaten on your home deck by a team that's not fancied at all, and you expect to win the championship, to be beaten 1-0, that's just ridiculous, Gelding.
Professor, everything you said about them last week was spot on. They should have been $1.05, to win that. And
yes.
Yet, as a coach, tick, that's a tick on that. That's points we get. But anyway.
All right. Parlay, Gelding, 17 from 37. So we've dipped down to 46%. I know it's still all right, but I want to try and get it back to the 50%. So today's the day we start marching back. This week, Gelding, we've gone to Randwick. Race
Yes.
7, horse 6, Autumn Glow. Better let the viewers know why we've gone to Randwick with that horse.
Well, Professor, certainly worried about the track at Caulfield. Criteria for the Professor's Parlay is we always try to pick a horse, no matter what the odds is, to win. To hopefully to get us away. So, look, this horse, 3-year-old filly, 2 starts, 2 win, trained by Chris Waller, ridden by Jay McDonald. As I said, one of my tips, Woonera, ran second to it last start. This horse has won both its races quite easily. You're getting a good track. You're getting a good track in Sydney at Randwick. You're getting the leading trainer in Australia in Chris Waller. You're getting the best jockey on board. Tick, 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 Professor. 2 starts, 2 wins. Owned by Arrowfield Stud. Races in the black and the gold. So, and this is a horse that they paid a lot of money for, Professor, as a yearling by the Autumn Sun. So they obviously like it. Again, this horse has nothing but upside. Let's get aboard the train early, Professor.
Makes sense, Gelding. Currently showing $2.10 and $1.20, so they're pretty good odds for the first leg of the parlay. And let's parlay that into not the Premier League this year, this week, Gelding. We're going to we're going to the NFL, where I did have success last year, Gelding.
Professor. Oh, that's a great. The loads come off the shoulders. Your form in the NFL league last season, Professor, was, geez, if you weren't going at 100%, you must have been going at 96% or something. You were just on fire with them last year. So looking forward to this one, Professor.
All right, so we're going to parlay Autumn Glow into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing at home to beat the Denver Broncos. Tampa Bay 4th in the NFC conference. They've won 2 from 2, a plus 21 points differential, Gelding. And what I like is they've scored 57 points. So they've been doing very well in 2 games. Against the Denver Broncos, very disappointing, Gelding. 11th in the AFC. They've lost 2 of 2, a minus 13 points differential. They've only been able to score 26 points each game, Gelding. The line's 6.5, so it's better than it's not quite a converted touchdown, but that's almost good enough for me.
Yes, I like it, Professor.
And second one, Gelding, very rarely that I tip the Las Vegas Raiders to win a game, and it's your team, Gelding, and you would be in trepidation as well, but they are playing quite possibly the worst team over the last few years in the NFL, the Carolina Panthers. They're 14th currently in the AFC. They've lost 2 of 2. They're worst in points scored. They're worst in points allowed. They've only scored 13, Gelding, in 2 games. They've let in a massive 73 for a minus 60 points differential. Las Vegas Raiders have split it. They're 1-1, only a minus 9 points differential. They've scored 36, so they can score points, Gelding. And they're playing at home, so that gets me over the top with them. The line's also 6.5 in this one. So the bookies don't like the Carolina Panthers either. So it's Autumn Glow into Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the Denver Broncos, into the Las Vegas Raiders to beat the Carolina Panthers. Currently, the win parlay showing 7-2, Gelding. The place parlay showing 2-1.
I like it, Professor, but as I know, the Raiders certainly aren't like the Oakland Raiders of the 70s and the 80s, but hopefully they're improving. May lead to an omen bet then, Professor, at multiple today. Race 9, number 9, Oakland Raider.
Well, there you are, Gelding. You'll be all over that.
Jesus. So
maybe we should put that one in the parlay.
Well, the form's a bit shaky, Professor.
Okay, only an omen bet.
Yeah, only the omen bet, yes.
All right, Gelding. Well, now, before we go, you wanted to mention a little bit about Jamie Carr's suspension. So for the viewers who don't know, what's that one all about?
Jamie Carr was suspended for 3 weeks. Rather an odd situation. we talked about it the other week when she was on a horse for Mick Price, Let's Face the Music. A gap opened in front of her, which she didn't take. When you see it in full time motion, Professor, and let me say this, we on this show are known for giving out S-hit rides to jockeys without reason. So it's not as if we love them or what they do, but the stewards have charged Jamie Carr with failing to give the horse the best possibility to win. Now, I reckon we see about 3 or 4 races every meeting, Professor, where we can question
questionable rides, Gelding. Questionable rides.
Whether jockeys give their when they're sitting last, Professor, 15 lengths off the lead, when you're expecting them to be on pace, is that giving a horse every chance? Look, there was a gap on the fence. I thought there probably was room for her to go. She's riding the horse. She didn't take it. The horse in front and on the right was rolling around a bit. Remember, this is a young girl that fell off a horse at Flemington and was off the scene with a brain injury for 6 months, Professor. So, fantastic to show it in slow-mo and say, oh, look, there was a run there. A bit different in time, but look, they've given her 3 weeks, so she'll miss the Caulfield Cup, Professor, because what they're allowing her to do is keep her commitments of rides like today and in the next week or two, like she'll be riding at the Golden Rose, but we'll start her suspension in October, which I find a bit strange. And then, so look, she can ride in the Golden Rose up in Sydney, but we'll be missing like a $5 million race in the Caulfield Cup. When I thought that questionable ride, Professor, we see a lot of them. Leading jockey, you just wonder whether they're waiting for her after the allegation of white powder, which she got off on. So, I don't know, Professor. I just thought it was a bit rough on her.
Yeah, Gelding. Look, I had a look at the race. When you play it in real time, it's a small gap to try and put a very big beast through.
Yep. And these were 3-year-olds, so
and it's a judgment. Look, I personally don't understand where you got a jockey talking about a judgment call about whether they thought it was safe to get through or not.
Yep.
And the other instances that you and I regularly comment on that don't even make the stewards report.
Yeah.
So for this one to be pulled up, well, let's face it. I've seen worse, Gelding. That's what I'll say. I've seen worse.
Yeah, I think she's a bit stiff, Professor.
All right, Gelding. Well, just before we wrap up today, doing a little bit of research for the program as I normally do. Friend of the program and a jockey who we spent a wonderful day at Caulfield with, Craig Robertson, has finally hung up the whip.
Fair
Went to Queensland seeking the better weather, and
had a few aches and bruises.
Yes, extended his career by probably 2 years, Gelding. But I was doing a little bit of research for the program and found out that he's finally decided to hang up the whip, not being involved in racing at all, as I understand it. So he's walked right away, which is so we wish him well and thank him for all the times that he appeared on Sportsfan Radio.
Well, Professor, as you said, we spent a very enjoyable day with Craig, got to know him and had him on the show and talked to him. I even got him a ride on Drop the Mic, Professor. And I would have had him on all the time, if I could have won those battles and that. A journeyman jockey, did well in town, but was more known as a very good country jockey. As he said, it's a hard life, Professor, when you're doing all those miles and things like that. And Craig's age would be, 52? Would he be?
56, Gelding.
56. So,
yes.
Yeah, that's It's a long time in the saddle, Professor.
Yeah, but he goes out on a high, Gelding. So he had 1,325 career wins. And certainly you would say he hit a purple patch over his last 50, right? His last 50, he was riding winners at the rate of 20%, which is an unbelievable percentage. You know, we look at those percentages every week, Gelding. 20% over your last 50 means you were certainly using all that experience over those last few rides.
Well, 10 winners out of 50, Professor. That's
you take it every day of the week, Gelding.
So if you go into the races every day, every fifth ride, you're riding a winner there once a meeting. Some of the leading jockeys don't do that, Professor.
No, so we wish Craig all the best in his retirement, and might see if I can get him back on the show. Might give us a few ideas of the highs and lows of his career.
That would be a sensational interview, Professor, and it's a pity he's walking away from it, not thinking about taking up training, or
no. As I understand it, he's gone out and got a 9-to-5 job, Gelding.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have minded giving him a horse, Professor.
Well, he's happy to. I think have walked away and got away from the early mornings, Gelding.
Well, exactly, Professor. I can fully understand that.
All right, Gelding, terrific show today. Well done, as usual. So until next Saturday, and that's racing. It's good luck.
And good punting.